Jeremy Clarkson's worst automotive decision was not a purchase. It was a sale. He sold a BMW 3.0 CSL for £3,000. He has called that decision idiotic. He has called it the worst thing he ever did with a car. Today, that BMW is worth approximately £230,000. The Batmobile variant recently sold for over £300,000. The lesson is straightforward. Sometimes, the greatest damage you can do to a car collection is not buying the wrong thing. It is letting the right thing go. These are the cars Jeremy Clarkson sold, and has spent years regretting. The man who has sold everything. Jeremy Clarkson has owned somewhere in the region of 100 cars across his lifetime. Ferraris, Lamborghinis, Porsches, Bentleys, Rolls-Royces, Volvos, Alfa Romeos, BMWs, Land Rovers, a Mercedes 600 Grosser, a Ford GT that broke him completely. He has bought, driven, reviewed, and dispatched an inventory of vehicles that most car enthusiasts could spend a career assembling on paper. Most of those departures are clean. The car served its purpose, the next one arrived, the previous one went to someone else with no particular ceremony. That is how Clarkson operates. Decisively, without sentiment, and with a clear-eyed understanding that a car in the garage you're no longer enjoying is a car taking up space that something more interesting could occupy. But some of them did not go cleanly. Some of them left a mark. And the cars that left the biggest marks are the ones that revealed something Clarkson rarely admits publicly. That underneath the certainty and the loud opinions and the refusal to care what anyone thinks, there is a man capable of a very specific kind of regret. The BMW 3.0 CSL, the £3,000 disaster. In 2019, a Drive Tribe camera crew sat Clarkson down and asked him a simple question. What was the worst car purchasing decision you ever made? He corrected the premise immediately. The worst car purchasing decision I ever made, he said, wasn't a car purchase at all. He then described selling his BMW 3.0 CSL for approximately £3,000. He said it was idiotic to sell the car for that price. The BMW 3.0 CSL is one of the most historically significant cars the company ever produced. Built as a homologation special, a production car built to technical specifications that would allow it to compete in the European Touring Car Championship. It featured lighter steel panels, aluminum doors, bonnet and boot lid, and perspex side windows to save weight. Only 1,265 examples were ever made between 1972 and 1975, of which 500 were sold in the United Kingdom. It was also the first BMW art car. The racing version was painted by Alexander Calder, beginning a program of artist-commissioned competition cars that BMW continues to this day. Some variants wore the aerodynamic kit that earned it the nickname the Batmobile, a towering rear wing and front spoiler added for competition that gave it a visual drama entirely at odds with its production car origins. The 3.0 CSL now fetches between £222,656 and £235,112 for standard models, with the Batmobile variants recording a top sale of over £300,000 in July 2025. Clarkson sold his for £3,000. The gap between those figures represents one of the most expensive errors of automotive judgment in celebrity collecting history. Not because he could not have known, the CSL's significance was already documented when he sold it, but because he sold it anyway, for a figure that suggests the departure was casual, rather than considered. A car worth £250,000 released for the price of a long weekend away, he still talks about it. Years later, unprompted on camera at a pub, the BMW 3.0 CSL is the regret that never recedes. The Alfa Romeo GT V6, the car he loved twice. The BMW CSL is the financial regret. The Alfa Romeo GT V6 is something different, the emotional one. Clarkson has described the Alfa Romeo GT V6 as simultaneously the best and the worst car he ever owned. Unreliable, temperamental, capable of letdowns in circumstances that no other car would choose. He has compared selling it to losing a dog. The specific grief of losing something that had personality rather than simply value. He sold the first one. Years passed, he bought other things. Better things on paper, more reliable things, faster things. Then, during the filming of a Grand Tour episode set in Scotland, a red GTV6 appeared as his road trip car. Somewhere during filming, he announced, casually, almost as a footnote, that he knew where this car was going to end up when production wrapped. He bought it from the production company after filming finished. The GTV6 he sold once is now in his garage for the second time. The emotional architecture of that decision is the most revealing thing about his relationship with cars. He did not go looking for the original. He found a near equivalent and could not let it pass. The gap left by the first sale was real enough, and large enough that 20 years of subsequent ownership could not fill it. That is what genuine automotive regret looks like, not the financial calculation, the fact that nothing else quite replaced the thing you let go. The Ford GT sold but never forgotten. The Ford GT story is the most complicated entry on this list, because Clarkson's feelings about selling it are not straightforward regret. He bought a 2005 Ford GT at the peak of his Top Gear years. From day one, it behaved appallingly. The car refused to start at the Top Gear test track the day after he bought it. He had to return home in a rented Toyota Corolla. The immobilizer failed. The security alarm triggered randomly at night, waking him and his family. Despite the dealership claiming to fix it repeatedly, the alarm continued misfiring throughout his ownership. He sold it. He bought a Lamborghini Gallardo Spider instead. The Ford GT went to someone else. In 2026, the car reappeared for sale on Instagram. The same GT, documented in the listing as previously belonging to Clarkson, 28,000 miles, blue with white racing stripes. Clarkson commented on the sale post, still talking about the alarm problem 20 years after the car had left his garage. He did not say he missed it. He did not say he wished he had kept it. He commented specifically about the alarm. That is not quite regret and not quite relief. It is the particular unresolved feeling of a car you loved in theory, could not live with in practice, and have never entirely stopped thinking about because the problem that drove you away was never fully resolved. The Ford GT is the one that got away, not because it was too good, but because it was too difficult. And difficulty, it turns out, lingers differently than loss. The Lamborghini Gallardo Spider, the disappointment that stings differently, the Gallardo. Spider deserves a brief, honest entry because it represents a category of regret different from all the others. Clarkson bought it in 2007, gray exterior, orange interior, partly because James May had dared him to, and partly because he genuinely believed owning a Lamborghini would be the experience the car promised. It was not. He ended up selling the Gallardo because owning it did not live up to how he'd hoped. This is not a financial regret. The Gallardo has not appreciated to the degree that makes its loss painful in purely monetary terms. It is the regret of misplaced expectation, of allowing someone else's dare and your own anticipation to override the more careful assessment that the car, in daily ownership, would deliver the experience you were after. He has never publicly said he wishes he had kept it. The Gallardo's entry in his regret ledger is quieter than the BMW or the Alfa. It is the vehicle that taught him the difference between the car you want to own and the car you want to drive, and the considerable gap between those two things. The attempted repair, the BMW M3 CSL, after selling the 3.0 CSL for £3,000 and spending years describing the decision as idiotic, Clarkson eventually acquired the modern equivalent, the 2004 BMW M3 CSL. Only 1,383 units were ever made. Another limited-run coupe, in the same philosophical lineage as the car he had sold. The M3 CSL is a genuinely excellent car. Carbon roof. Stripped interior. A naturally aspirated straight 6 producing 355 horsepower in a body lighter than the standard M3. It is, by any reasonable assessment, one of the best driver's cars BMW produced in the 2000s, and it is not the 3.0 CSL. Clarkson knows this. The purchase was not a replacement, it was an acknowledgement that the gap left by the original sale could not be filled exactly. The best available substitute for the thing you lost is still a substitute. What the regrets tell you. The cars Jeremy Clarkson regrets are not the obvious ones. Not a rare Ferrari sold before the values exploded. Not a Pagani or a McLaren or anything from a manufacturer whose recent trajectory was obvious even then. A BMW homologation special sold for £3,000. An Italian coupe that he loved and let go and then found again 20 years later. A Ford GT that kept him up at night with its alarm. A Lamborghini that didn't deliver the experience he was after. The regrets are small, in a sense, relative to the breadth of the career. One bad sale among hundreds, one emotional car among dozens. But they persist in interviews at pubs, in Instagram comments 2 decades later, in the secondhand GTV6 parked in his Oxfordshire garage. That persistence is the most revealing thing about Jeremy Clarkson. The man who delivers his opinions with the confidence of someone who has never second-guessed anything has been second-guessing a £3,000 sale for 30 years. Subscribe to Drive Directive and tell us in the comments, which of Clarkson's automotive regrets do you think would hurt you most if it were yours?